here we are, dementia. There's some silly side effects to dementia. I mean, sometimes you have a problem remembering which woman is your wife, especially in a small village, where sometimes you find women who've forgotten which husband is their husband or which man is their husband. And it can cause you some sort of problems, especially you get around town and some bloke comes up to you and says, "Hey, you're a right ladies' part, you are." I said, "Hang on a minute, what do you mean?" She said, "You've been playing up with those other blokes' wives." I said, "Oh, no, I don't remember." "Oh, sorry, I don't remember." They didn't remember either. I said, "Are you sure you're talking about?" He said, and then he said, he got really insulting, and he said, "Your father was a bikie gang." And that's where I had him. I said, "Hang on a minute. My father's not a bikie gang, mate. My father was the local football team because I've got the pictures still on the wall. That's my father. Yeah, one of them was really good at that AFL. So I know who my father was, thank you." Anyway, dementia's a funny thing, isn't it? Because Australia's got dementia. It now lives in sort of dementia denial that it cannot do anything about a climate change. If it admitted the fact that most people know, and obviously, 1 + 1 = 2, but Australia lives in denial, like it's got dementia, and it's got denial of 1 + 1 is 2, or China is 50% of the CO2 in the world, and we're 0.025% or whatever it is, a minuscule amount, but we are going to say the climate. And the problem is with this strange take on things, which is obviously patently untrue, if they now admitted they were wrong, and they are wrong, categorically wrong, then there would be a catastrophic fall in support for all the major parties who've gone along with this rort of power bills. Now, power bills are a means of depleting the economy and depleting currency from the people. It's, in other words, it's a tax on the people. Power is simply another way of taxing the people, taxing the workers, taxing the poor, taxing pensions, taxing everyone. That's all it is for the big corporations. In other words, the Labour Party, Liberal Party, Nationals and the Greens, they work for the major corporations who are controlled outside Crown Corporation of London, and everyone can Google this. It's no mystery. There's no mystery here. I'm not giving secrets. People think this is a secret. There is no mystery whatsoever. Google it. Look it on YouTube. Crown Corp of London. Find out for yourself who runs the world finances. And then you'll find out what climate change and Australia is all about, creating debt territories. We're coming now a massive debt like a begging nation because we can no longer finance manufacturing and real blooming employment. We can create employment by borrowing money to employ more and more people in the government system. But that basically is a socialist system. The sad part about that is it's not really a socialist system. It's a social elite system like the Nazis had here, the social elite who run the place and tell you what to think, tell you what to believe, and tell you how to do it and what to do and everything like that. Even tell you what sort of jokes you can make, which is odd. To be a comedian in Australia, you don't have to have a sense of humour. And it pays not to have a sense of humour if you are a comedian, because if you do have a sense of humour, well, then you'll be afraid to have to openly be witty, because if that you might say something that confronts someone in the PC brigade. Anyway, what they've done by putting, they have to deny now all the Penny Wongs in the world and the Bill Shortons and Morrisons and all of them. I forgot what the guy from Nationals is called, the D. Natali. They all live in denial now that we have worked out, well, I worked out from the beginning, but people have worked out that Australia cannot do anything about the climate. It's impossible physically, economically, in every way, mathematically, every way possible that you can think of. But what it is doing is their excuse to bump up power prices, which bumps up the cost of everything, the cost of hospitals. All hospitals pay more for power, so therefore there's less money for nurses or doctors or of treating patients, or even new hospitals. The amount of money being taken out of the system for pay for subsidised electricity would pay for more hospitals, that's for certain, because it's $30 billion so far gone out of the system. And one day, 15 years from now, 20 years, they're going to look upon the days of coal-fired power stations as the good old days when people could afford to keep warm in winter, and you could afford to go to the hospital, and you could afford to have a sort of decent life without too much debt, because you had the cheap power source. Now, something about this, the coal-fired power station, people say, oh, it's subsidised and all this and that. No, it's not, because what the mining of coal does, it's very important, and people do have no understanding of the Industrial Revolution or what it meant at all, none whatsoever. They refuse to read or learn anything. There are so many derivative chemicals from minerals, fuels, and what they are, not fossil fuels, that doesn't make sense. They're mineral fuels, that's what they are. There's so many, apart from the thermal properties, which gives you the combustion, which then can drive machinery and drive industry and drive everything else. There are so many derivative chemicals come from that, which the German chemists in the 19th century were masters at, and they created the big petrochemical companies and pharmaceuticals, all connected from then, when they started experimenting and realised when you burn coal, or when you coke coal in particularly, you can extract, and you coke coal to make steel. The German and English steel industries took off, and in Wales, etc., took off after the Bessemer steel process was created in Sheffield in England. I think 1838, something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then, after they learned to make steel, they said it caused a bloom in being able to make steel rails and better ships and everything else, motor cars, and everything else came from that. So they needed to burn coal to create the industry and the power to generate to make all that steel, to make rail and all the other things they needed. But what they found out, they couldn't burn steel, make steel with the coal, because coal has so many impurities in it. When you extract the impurities out through the coke oven process, then you've got all these offtakes across the top. I don't know this because I helped build them. But anyway, so it worked in industrial processing. But when you take all the gas off, then you find there's all these useful chemicals in these gases. So the using of fossil fuels, what we call fossil fuels for the sake of it, then that, if you like, that then helps finance thousands of other employments in millions and millions of jobs, in other words. Because all the derivative chemicals that come from oil or gas and coal, they're untold, thousands, paints, dyes, medicines, nylon stockings, shirts, clothes. It's so many things. Chairs, plastics, anything, wiring. You can't melt copper without coal. It's just goes on forever. How much you need heat, and you can't generate heat with wind and solar, but you need to generate heat with some sort of creates enough thermal units that, or heat density, if you like, that then can process ore into steel to make a windmill. It has to be extremely strong steel, or whatever it is, aluminium, whatever it is, steel, to make those tall windmills. And you need a lot of heat to generate, to make that steel, from going from an ore to an iron, a pig iron, then from a pig iron to a stainless steel. It takes an awful lot of it. To make stainless steel takes an enormous amount of energy. Electrical energy to make stainless steel alone takes enormous amount, and you can't do that with wind generators. One stainless steel processing plant, if you use that, and it would shut down your whole state. If you're just running off wind, one operation on that would shut the state down. It would draw so much amperage and wattage into that one unit to make stainless steel, your state would shut down. And so that's how little people seem to understand, or I've got dementia, about how the whole process come about. And when they say, oh, people subsidise coal or oil and gas, well, I've got no problems with that, because I understand what the benefits are economically throughout the world, the whole world, is from one thing being subsidised, right? And then you get all the benefits from all the chemicals and the compound materials, what then produced the modern world. Before then, there was no modern world. It was back in the Dark Ages, before the Industrial Revolution, and the German chemists in particular really learned to extract all the minerals and all the different compounds from coal, in particular, and oils later, right? And I'll keep this short, but this is the thing. You see, what's trouble with wind and solar as an idea? I have nothing against them as an idea to create power and energy, but they can't charge 1 million cars off solar or wind, because you can't say, oh, we have batteries, because the amount of batteries, you will be a skyscraper as big as the Empire State Building everywhere, to have the battery capacity to keep lifts and trains and water pumps going and charge your cars, and then 3 days without wind and you've got nothing going. So what they're saying is very, very misleading. It's like we are living in a time when dementia rules, and then they see politicians are living like they don't remember saying this or that, or they're living in denial, and it's a sad time indeed. I just sort of explain, and the industrial process can be fully explained. I suggest people do their own investigations into everything. And then German chemical engineers, 19th century, might give some insight to what was happened with what was extracted from the industrial process of what created steel. The creation of steel, you have to have pure carbon from, and so you have to extract all the other compounds off the coal, and then they found they had all these chemicals embodied. And what to do? They occurred in the trees. All the chemicals what made up a tree makes up trees and ferns and whatever, a bit of mud and animals thrown in, but it makes up coal. What's in the coal is in the tree. Do we call trees toxic wastes? No, we don't. It's all getting a bit too silly, really, when a whole country denies what is obviously basic fact. You can't charge 2 million electric vehicles up without baseload power, which is coal. Sorry, folks. I've now declared Australia insane. Sorry. That's what I have to say this thing.